Welcome back to another episode of Any Last Words. I'm your host, Joe, and today we're going to be talking about a pretty messed up story. I think this is one of the most intense stories I've ever had to cover. And I don't know if it could get any worse than this. This is very, very, very horrific. So before we get into it, if you guys like my videos, please make sure that you hit the like and subscribe button. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss another episode of Any Last Words. In the 2009 film Orphan, couple John and Kate Coleman, played by Peter Skarsgård and Vera Farmiga, decide to adopt a 9-year-old Russian girl named Esther after losing their stillborn child. Soon after Esther moved into the family's home, Esther begins displaying hostile and violent behavior. Later in the film, Kate learns that Esther is actually a 33-year-old woman named Lena, who has a rare hormonal disorder that stunted her physical growth and caused her proportional dwarfism, and has spent most of her life posing as a little girl. It's also discovered that Lena is a serial killer, killing the last family who adopted her. So, with that information about the movie, here's the real life story that inspired the film. Now, before we get into this, there is a trigger warning. This video talks about severe and as well as cannibalism. So if this isn't something that you want to hear about, I completely understand, because this one was a little difficult for me to read about, and I'll gladly see you in the next video. So let's get into it. Clara Morova told people that she was destined to fulfill a mission from God, and that her sister Katerina had a mission too. Clara went to have 2 sons, Andre and Jakob. The father of the sons eventually left Clara because of her bizarre behavior. Clara was also said to be a good mother and would often be seen playing with her 2 boys. However, after the breakup, Clara and her sons then moved in with her sister Katerina. The sisters became friendly with a 33-year-old Barbara Skarlova, an award-winning classical composer. Barbara had a rare hormonal disorder that made her look much younger than she really was. So much that people mistook her for a child. And Barbara used to take this to her advantage. Prone to getting into trouble with the law, Barbara often posed as a minor to avoid charges being filed. She also spent time in a psychiatric hospital, which she fled from, and was said to be able to easily manipulate people around her. Now, shortly after the 3 women met one another, they joined a religious cult led by Barbara's father called the Grail Movement. The cult expressed the belief that the members could get into heaven by doing good deeds, but they also believed that they were absolved to commit crimes, so they can just do whatever the hell they want. They're still getting into heaven regardless. After living with Clara and Katerina for some time, Barbara became jealous of Clara's 8 and 9-year-old sons. She began accusing them of severely misbehaving and that they needed to be punished. Now, because Clara was so infatuated with Barbara and didn't want to lose her love, she began punishing the boys in very, very cruel ways. The 2 boys were locked in a cage in the basement where they remained for a year. Clara installed a video camera in the basement so that she could watch the abuse from another room when she wasn't doing it herself. Now, during the year, they were completely stripped naked and given no blankets or anything to lay on. They were starved, tortured, beaten, and yeah. The boys were also burned with cigarettes, given electric shocks, scratched with forks, whipped, and at one point, one of them was almost drowned. The boys were forced to cut themselves with knives. When they weren't kept in cages, they would be handcuffed to a table and forced to stand in their own urine for days. If either boy would vomit, they would be forced to eat it. Oh God, that's horrible. Barbara decided that they would force feed the boys to make them gain weight. After gaining some weight, the woman held Andre down and skinned his leg as he screamed and pleaded to stop. The 3 women then ate his raw flesh. They did the same to Jakob and even forced the boys to consume their own flesh. So then when they weren't being tortured, they were literally being eaten alive. This is so horrible. This is horrible. How can you do this to babies? I hate these people with a purple passion. They're disgusting. Anyway, in May of 2007, a couple had recently installed a baby monitor into the crib of their newborn child so that they can keep an eye on him at night. Later on, when they turned on the monitor to connect to the camera, they realized it was not connected to their baby's monitor, but to the neighbor's. And what they saw was truly shocking. The monitor displayed two young boys bound, dirty, and naked in a cage. The couple quickly called the police and informed them what was going on. When the police entered the neighbor's home, they found the two adult sisters, Clara and Katrina, or Katarina, I don't remember. It doesn't matter because she's trash. But anyway. And the two sisters would not permit the police to enter the basement. They were quickly detained, and the police entered the basement to find the boys in a cage, just as the neighbors described, along with a little girl who was also naked, dirty, crying for help while holding a stuffed bear. She identified herself as the boys' older sister, Anika. All three children were taken to a shelter to be cared for while the investigation went on. Once the police went back to talk to Anika about some other stuff that had come up, she had disappeared completely from the facility and they didn't know where she went. Come to find out, Anika was Barbara, and she had fled to Norway where she was adopted by a new family. This time, posing as a 12-year-old boy named Adam. What the fuck? Barbara shaved her head, gained weight, and taped her chest down so that she would appear to be flat-chested and enrolled into school. It said that her newly adopted parents were part of the Grail movement cult and that they were giving her the identity of their actual son so that she can live in hiding. 8 months later, Barbara was eventually tracked down by the police. Following the arrest, all the women turned on each other. Clara claimed that she had been brainwashed by the doctor who had sent her text messages instructing her about what abuses and tortures to inflict on her sons. Police later discovered that the phone number of the so-called doctor actually belonged to Katarina, or Katrina, whatever, she's trash. Barbara also claimed that she was innocent and that she too had been tortured by the sisters, but the court didn't believe her. Thank fucking God. Ugh. According to the prosecutors, the purpose of the torture and abuse was to break the boys and to enslave them for religious purposes. I want to gag right now. While the three women were part of the Grail movement, apparently they had branched out and they were creating their own cult. It was a breakaway cult that called for members to prove their devotion through physical devotion. This is the kicker. This is the kicker right here. In the end, Clara was sentenced to 9 years in prison, Katarina was sentenced to 10 years in prison, and Barbara was sentenced to 5 years in prison. But it gets better. Oh yeah, it gets better. They have all since been paroled and are now freely living their lives again. Are you shitting me? Are you shitting me? Really? That... Come on now. These people should be serving life in prison, if not the death penalty. And I'm not one. I am in a gray area with the death penalty only because so many people have been wrongly convicted and put to death. But there are people who just, they need to go. They need to stop leaching our air. That's what they need to do. And these people are that to the T. They really are. They really are. Sorry, not sorry. So, that's the story that inspired the film Orphan. Really messed up. It's crazier than what the movie is. That's so sad. That's sad. That's disgusting. It's a whole lot of things that I'm not really cool on. Like I said, this episode was a little difficult for me to get through because I don't like babies being hurt. Children are so precious and so innocent, and for things like this to happen, it just sickens me to my core. It makes me angry, and it makes me wish that we had like some kind of a program where you can go in and You know, I don't really condone violence too much either, but we should be able to go in and physically hurt these people that are doing this shit, this monstrous shit to children, because they don't deserve anything. They don't deserve our taxpayer dollars to be sitting in prison. They don't deserve any of this shit. Sorry, not sorry. But yeah, so that's the story that inspired Orphan. Again, if you guys like this video or the other videos that I've done, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you never miss another episode of Any Last Words. If you guys have any suggestions for videos that you'd like to see me do in the future, hit me up on my social media, or you can email me at anylastwordsjoe@gmail.com. And make sure you put in the subject title, show suggestion. I trip on my words a lot. Show suggestions. And I'll gladly read them and get back to you as soon as I can. Again, thank you guys for joining, and I will see you guys next week. And until then, I hope you have nightmares about me.